Good morning, Megapodlings. It's Crazy Joe. It is a Sunday night. Excuse me, I have to turn off the live chat on my phone because it's quite distracting. Come on, live chat. I don't want to see this. There we go. Good morning, Megapodlings. It is Crazy Joe. It is Sunday. It is Crazy After Dark. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And of course, in a total comedy of errors, my iPad just stopped working. So now I have to turn the live chat that I just turned off back on again because I don't have any down here. I'm going to have to ask you guys to bear with me because, oh, Brent, thank you. Thank you very much, Brent. We got a super chat from Brent. Oh, let's get the hippo out here. Super chat hippo thanks you, Brent. I thank you, and the super chat hippo thanks you as well. There's a way to start off the live stream. Thank you, Brent. I appreciate it. That kind of brightens my day a little. I'll tell you, maybe this isn't the best time to be doing a live stream because I got to tell you, I'm not in the best of moods tonight. I am not in the best of moods. I'm feeling a little bit down. Maybe you guys can help cheer me up. It's just been one of those days, you know? Just one of those days where the world around you just seems angry. Do you know what I mean? You ever just been around, everyone seems angry. You're like, why is everybody angry? Everyone's angry. And the kids are fighting and just everyone's angry. And you're like, why is everyone so angry? So I don't know. It's like that's kind of where I am tonight. So Brent says he's been depressed a lot lately. I'm sorry, Brent. I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, I guess I have been too. It's just, I don't know, maybe it's just Christmas, you know, being Christmas the way Christmas is. The kids are off school and the kids just never stop fighting. They don't stop. And I don't know, I feel like I try to be the positive one. I try to be the person who's, I try to keep the mood light and happy, and it just seems like some days it's not working and everyone's just pissed off at the world and you're in the middle of it and it's like you're trying to be the ray of sunshine in a hurricane, but instead of actually bringing the sunshine, the hurricane just brings you down too. So I'm sorry if I'm not in the happiest of moods. I'm trying to perk up, so maybe you guys can help perk me up. I saw Geriatric Geek was here. Hello, good to see you. Good to see everyone who's here. Please bear with me on the chat. My iPad is dead right now. I have it plugged in. I'm hoping it'll have power soon. But until I have the chat in front of me, it scrolls very fast on the phone, so I'll try to keep up. Todd is here. Hello, Todd. Now, what else did I see there? That's another thing. Kyle's Movie Corner says, I have been sad myself. I'm sorry to hear that, Kyle. The truth is, I'm usually quite happy. I'm usually in a pretty good mood. I think that probably comes across in my videos. What you see is what you get. Like, I don't really put up an act. What you see is what you get. So my attitude is pretty much the way I look at life. But sometimes I get beaten down by outside forces. You know what I mean? So I try to stay positive because what else are you going to do? You know, it is what it is. But it's not easy sometimes because it's just, I don't know, constant negativity gets to me. It's just when people are just negative, and it seems like that's the way it's been lately, so much negativity. I think a lot of it has to do with the kids because they're, you know, you have one of the kids alone, they're fine. You get two of them together, it's fight, and Jamel's here. Hello, Jamel. Jamel says, how was your Christmas? My Christmas was great, Jamel. How was yours? Tell me about your Christmas. I got some of the things I got for Christmas around me, and I was thinking of possibly doing a video on that, so maybe I should save that for a future video. Oh, God, what is going on with this iPad? It is still... Let me show you. This is what we're looking at here. It's what we're looking at. You see the red? I need it to power up a little. It's plugged in right now. It's charging. But I'll get the chat on here. My life will be easier once the chat's on here. Jamel says, "Oh no, it's no big deal, Jamel. It's just an iPad. You know, oh, look, we got the Apple logo. We got the Apple logo. But I was there before. I was there before, and then it was at 1% power, and then it collapsed again on me. So I don't know. I don't know. Let's wait it out a little bit. Oh boy. Sometimes I think I need a vacation. Sometimes I feel like I want to go to the city of cavemen, the city of bedrock. I'd be a Flintstone, and I'll tell you why." Hey, Chris Pike is here. Brent says, "Do I like the Jim Carrey Christmas Carol?" I've never seen the Jim Carrey Christmas Carol. I got to be honest with you. I'm not a fan of that style of animation. Robert Zemeckis was behind all those movies. It started with the Polar Express. It moved on to Polar Express, and then there was Mars Needs Moms was one, Beowulf was one, but that kind of CGI animation motion capture where everyone looked really, really human. I gotta say that kind of animation I'm not a fan of it, and I never saw the Jim Carrey Grinch. Also, I gotta be honest with you, I'm not a Jim Carrey fan. I really don't like Jim Carrey, except in dramatic roles. I like him in dramatic roles, but I don't think he's funny. I hate to say it because I know people love the guy, and I love the guy too, but I feel the same way about Robin Williams. I've never found Robin Williams to be funny. I like him in dramatic roles. 1 Hour Photo, he's great in 1 Hour Photo. He's great in Insomnia. What was it? Dead Poets Society and Good Will Hunting. I love him in movies like that. But when he did comedy, same as Jim Carrey, I feel like they're almost too active. They're just go, 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 go. And it's like, and that's not really my style of humor. I kind of go more for the more drier humor. Like I like Airplane, where it's like, it's wordplay. It's like a lot of funny wordplay. And I like, my favorite comedian's Norm Macdonald. He's very dry. So that's the kind of comedy I really kind of like. Kyle says, "What are my plans for tomorrow?" I got to go to work tomorrow. I am back to work tomorrow morning. I work tomorrow and Tuesday. I'm off Wednesday for New Year's Day. Then I'm back Thursday and Friday. So it's been like that for the last couple weeks. I worked the Monday and Christmas Eve, 2 days of work, 1 day off, Christmas Day, 2 days of work, the day after Christmas and the Friday after Christmas, 2 days off, the weekend. Now we go 2 days back to work, 1 day off, 2 days back to work, 2 days off, then a full week. So it's just been boom, boom, boom. Bohemian Movies and More is here. Hello, good to see you. Hey, I got to tell something to all of you guys. I need all you guys to kind of hear this. Scott says, "Happy New Year. Looking forward to more great videos from you in 2020. Thank you, Scott. I appreciate it. Look, this is important. This is very important. So let's talk about this. If you follow me on Instagram, I'm going to have to here. Let me bottom line it for you. If you followed at Krazy Joe on Instagram, you may find you're not one of my followers anymore. Please don't take it personally. Please don't take it personally. I removed most people from my Instagram that I don't know personally. Like if I don't know who you are personally, then I took you off my Instagram. It's not personal. I have a new Instagram. It's at Megapodtastic, and I'm really separating with Instagram. I'm separating the personal and the podcast YouTube stuff. They have to be separated. Now, this is not personal, but you have to understand there is one viewer, only one viewer. I'm not going to name names, but the guy started to exhibit a little bit of stalkery behavior, got a little creepy, and as a result, I said, okay, we have to separate the two. Megapodtastic is open to the public. Anyone can follow at Megapodtastic. Anyone. At Krazy Joe is now protected. Only family and friends. If you got removed, please don't take it personally, but you got to understand there was a person who was kind of pushing the boundaries. And since the @Krazy Joe had pictures of my wife and my kids, it was making us a little uncomfortable. So we drew a line in the sand. We said these two have to be separate. So you will never see pictures of the kids or my wife on the @Megapodtastic, because I chose to do YouTube. Okay, I chose to do YouTube. They didn't choose to do YouTube. That's not their choice. My wife tolerates this at best. I mean, she's tried to participate. She's been a good sport. You know, we're not throwing her under the bus. She's been a very good sport. She's tried to participate. She's tried to be in the videos. But when it negatively impacts her, ultimately, it's something I chose to do and not something she chose to do. So she don't want to be a part of it anymore, and I don't blame her. I don't blame her because, there was some creepy stuff that happened. So again, if you've been removed from my Instagram, please don't take it personally. @Megapodtastic, open to everybody. And @Krazy Joe is just friends and family. I hope I don't offend anyone with that, but it's just the way it's got to be. Chris says, I think it's a good idea. Keep your family safe. Thank you, Chris. And you got to remember, too, I was late to the game on Instagram. I really was. I was late to the game on Instagram. I had Twitter. I had Facebook. I didn't have Instagram. And I signed up for Instagram basically because someone stole some of my friend's art. My friend Asher, he's an artist. Someone stole his art and was posting it to Instagram, and he asked a bunch of us, could you jump in? Could you comment on this woman's picture and say, hey, that is stolen? So I signed up for Instagram expressly to help out my friend. It's what I did. I was like, I gotta sign up for Instagram, help my friend. So I signed up as @Krazy Joe. Then eventually, I think Cinema Sickness was the one who's like, you got to use Instagram, man. You got to use Instagram to promote the podcast, the YouTube. You need Instagram. So I started going to the Instagram page that I set up and kind of now retroactively using it to promote YouTube and Facebook's or podcast stuff. But if you notice, on Facebook, I'm Megapodtastic. On Twitter, I'm Megapodtastic. On Instagram, I was @Krazy Joe. So it really wasn't properly branded. I think any social media expert would have said, what are you doing? What are you doing? You have to have consistent branding. Anyone would have told me that. But I kind of, I'll be honest, I half-assed Instagram. I half-assed it. I had this existing Instagram, and I'm like, oh, I'm just going to use the one account for everything. And it was not a good idea. It was not a good idea. I should have done that from the start. I should have had an @Megapodtastic from the beginning, but I half-assed Instagram. It's the truth. So now I'm retroactively trying to go back and fix it. So it's @Megapodtastic for YouTube stuff and in podcast stuff, and it is @Krazy Joe for family and friends. And don't take it personally if I don't know you personally. If I don't know who you are, I'm not gonna add you there. So that's just, I'm sorry. James says, hey, Krazy Joe, what's your favorite era of animation? Mine is late 90s. Happy New Year. Thank you. Ed K says, hope all is well. Hope all is well with you too, Ed. Again, I'm having trouble keeping up because I don't have the iPad, so please bear with me. Favorite era of animation? That's a good question. I guess it depends what we're talking about. We're talking about Saturday morning shows. We're talking about movies. It's hard to say. I guess I'll give a blanket answer because it's kind of my blanket answer for everything. I'm going to say 80s. Saturday morning cartoons, afternoon cartoons, TV stuff. 80s was always my favorite stuff. He-Man, Transformers, G.I. Joe. That's the stuff I really, really love. So that's going to be my answer. I'm going to say 80s, though I do think theatrical animation has probably gotten... Well, if we're being honest, the 80s is probably the worst time for theatrical animation, because if you look at the beautifully animated films Disney was making back in the in the 50s and 60s, your Cinderella, your Snow White, just beautiful, beautifully animated. Animation seemed to kind of take a step down in the 70s and 80s, I think. And then in the 90s, we had the Disney Renaissance, which I guess started with 1989 with Little Mermaid. Suddenly the animation quality bounced up again. So it's funny because I'm saying it's my favorite era for TV animation, but if we're being honest, I guess 80s was not a very good era for animated films because the Disney stuff and it was much better in an earlier era, 50s and 60s. And then it got much better again in the 90s. So I guess the 80s was the sort of the time where that kind of animation was dead, really. But yeah, my blanket answer is the 80s. Bohemian says, in 2020, I will finally do YouTube videos since I now have a laptop to edit on. I will subscribe, Bohemian. Sav says, how was my Christmas? My Christmas was good. Lisa says, hey, you're here. Good evening. Good evening, Lisa. Good to see you. So for those of you just joining us, I went on to a whole rant about my Instagram. So it's at Megapodtastic now. Please follow at Megapodtastic. If you find you've been removed from at Krazy Joe, please don't be offended. Brandon says, do I remember the superhero movie with Rob Lowe called The Specials? I love The Specials. I love The Specials. That is a great movie. Underrated. I don't think enough people have seen it. James Gunn wrote that. James Gunn is in it. James Gunn, Suicide Squad James Gunn, Guardians of the Galaxy James Gunn, is an actor in it. He plays a superhero who has the power to shrink. And because he has the power to shrink, his name is Minute Man. But everyone thinks his name is pronounced Minute Man, and it constantly frustrates him throughout the whole movie. I love that movie. That is a really underrated gem. Thank you for bringing that up, Brandon. If you haven't seen The Specials, check out The Specials. It's worth checking out. It's a good one. Do I want to try? I'm at 2% power on the iPad. Now, here's my fear. I was at 1% power, and even though it is plugged in, it collapsed. So I think the power going out is greater than the power going in. So I think I need to give it a little more time before I use that. I'm sorry. Should have been prepared. This is a last-minute live stream. I wasn't planning to do a live stream. Ben says, I had to leave my computer. Will you ever go to Disney World with Dave? As long as I am married, that is unlikely. It's very unlikely because I would come back and I would come back to divorce papers. Brandon says, I just found it on DVD today. I haven't seen it in years. It's a good find. That is a good find. Brent says, did I like the Muppet Christmas movie from 2010 that was on NBC, the one where Whoopi Goldberg played God? Okay, Brent, I have to correct you right off the bat. The movie's from 2002. Not 2010. It is a 2002 made-for-TV movie aired on NBC in 2002. And yes, I am a big fan of it. A lot of Muppet fans don't like that movie. I like that movie a lot, and I'll tell you why. It was the movie that returned Kermit and Miss Piggy and Fozzie Bear to prominence. Now, granted, they were in Muppet Christmas Carol. They were in Muppets from Space. They were in Muppet Treasure Island. They were on the TV show Muppets Tonight. These characters never went away. But after the death of Jim Henson, those characters became background characters. They did. Bob Cratchit was not the main character of Muppet Christmas Carol. He wasn't. The captain of the ship in Treasure Island, not the main character. And if you watch those movies, in that era of Muppet movies, two characters stepped up and became the main characters who had never been the main characters before. Gonzo and Rizzo. Gonzo and Rizzo were the main characters in Muppet Christmas Carol, Muppet Treasure Island, and Muppets from Space. And the reason is because Jim Henson and Richard Hunt were both dead, and they were very, very reluctant to recast those roles. Now, granted, Steve Whitmire had taken over. Steve Whitmire had taken over as Kermit, but I think there was a feeling of, let's put Kermit in the background. We have to have Kermit there. The people demand it. The fans demand Kermit's got to be there. But it's not Jim anymore, so let's make him a background character. That seemed to be the attitude. Then Richard Hunt died, and they were like, oh, they didn't want to recast Scooter and Hunt's characters. They just didn't want to do it. They didn't want to recast Ralph the dog. You'll notice in that era of films, Ralph never speaks. Ralph is there. You'll see him in those movies. never says a single line of dialogue. They didn't want to recast a Jim for Rolf. They did it for Kermit, but not for Rolf. Scooter never speaks after the death of Richard Hunt. And Frank Oz was taking a he basically wasn't doing the Muppets anymore. I mean, they would have Piggy and Fozzie show up, but Frank Oz was not usually on set. He was not there performing his characters. Another puppeteer would perform the characters, and Frank Oz would come in later and dub in the voice. Now, It's a Very Merry Muppet Christmas Movie in 2002 was the first Muppet production since the death of Jim Henson and the death of Richard Hunt that returned those characters to prominence. Kermit became the main character again. It had been a long time since Kermit was the main character. Eric Jacobson, for the first time, really took over performing Fozzie and Piggy and all Frank Oz's characters. So suddenly Fozzie Bear, Miss Piggy, they were more than just glorified cameos like they had been. And Richard Hunt, for the first time, Scooter headlines. It wasn't David Rubin. David Rubin performs Scooter now. I don't remember who performed Scooter in that movie. You're going to have to forgive me, but it wasn't David Rubin. But it was the first time Scooter had dialogue and spoke since the death of Richard Hunt in like 1990. So, long story short, yes, I do like that movie. A lot of Muppet fans don't, but I think it's an extremely important movie in the history of the Muppets because it was kind of the Muppet movie where the Muppets finally said, you know what? We got to bring the main characters back to prominence. We got to recast some of these characters, even though their performers have passed. And that was a long answer. I apologize, but I think it's a very important Muppet movie for that reason. And yeah, I'm a big fan of it. I like it. I watch it almost every Christmas. Didn't watch it this year, though. Bohemian says, Muppet history lesson here is really interesting. Thank you, Bohemian. I appreciate it. And for the record, if you need knowledge about the Muppets, not only do I know, but in the chat room, Lisa in the chat room is also one of our resident Muppet experts, so she can help you too. Sav says, big fan of the Muppets. If you're not a big fan of the Muppets, I just don't know what to say, man. I just don't know what to say. Look, there's my Pigs in Space toys right there. I love the Muppets. All right, guys, where are we on power? Still at 2% on the iPad. That makes me reluctant to use the iPad because I'm afraid I will conk it out again. Let's see. What are you guys saying here? James says, hey, Crazy Joe, ever seen The Wonder Years? It's a great coming-of-age show. Yes, I used to watch it back when it originally aired. I kind of felt the show petered out as it went along. I didn't like the later seasons as much. Scott says, Brian Henson was Scooter in that movie. There you go. And Brian Henson, unfortunately, doesn't have anything to do with the Muppets anymore. Lisa says, it's a Very Merry Muppet Christmas Movie. Was Brian Henson for Scooter? Yeah, there we go again. Yes, it was Brian Henson. And Brian Henson, it's a shame that he doesn't perform for the Muppets anymore because he was also Sal Manila, the monkey. And I got to tell you, one of my favorite Muppet characters is Johnny Fiamma. Johnny Fiamma and Sal. I love Johnny Fiamma and Sal. Bill Beretta was Johnny Fiamma. And from what I read online, the puppets of Johnny Fiamma and Sal have since disintegrated. They haven't been used since, probably since A Very Merry Muppet Christmas Movie. It was probably the last time Johnny Fiamma and Sal were ever used. Because they weren't in the 2011 movie. They weren't on Muppets Most Wanted, and I read that the puppets have since disintegrated, which breaks my heart a little because I love those characters. I apologize. The names are flashing fast. Someone asked what I thought of the trailer for Ghostbusters Afterlife. I really liked it. I liked it a lot. I can't wait to see it. I think it was a great trailer. I thought it was just brilliantly done. I think one of the smartest things about that trailer, one of the things I love the most, is that the original Ghostbusters don't appear in it. I thought that was great because they're really, I mean, we know they will appear in the movie, and we know they'll probably appear in the next trailer, but I thought this was a great trailer to kind of build the mood of what is to come. So I thought that was a really cool move. I was happy about that. so many people hated the last movie, myself included. But so many people hated the last movie that I feel like if they had just come out with the old Ghostbusters right away in the trailer, like, here they are, the old Ghostbusters, it would have felt very reactionary. It would have felt like, don't worry, the ones you like are back. It's like, I kind of like the idea that they went for a moodier, like a trailer to set the stage of kind of what to expect. And we're going to build towards seeing the Ghostbusters like in the next trailer. Like, I thought that was a smarter way to go. So yeah, I was a big fan of that trailer. I thought it really delivered. Speaking of Muppets, Joe Hennis from the Tough Pigs website, Joe Hennis from toughpigs.com, one of the great Muppet websites, he said that he did not care for that trailer. So there are differences of opinions out there. He didn't think it was particularly great. So yeah, everyone's sees these things from a slightly different perspective. Bohemian says, looking forward to it, but it looks meh. Don't judge the movie by its trailer or poster. Are we talking Ghostbusters there? Because I didn't get meh from the trailer. I thought it was a pretty exciting trailer, actually. And it's good to see Paul Rudd in it. That's exciting. So, Scott says, Kermit, full narration in VHS Emmett Otter, off topic. That's another interesting thing. Joe Hennis from Tough Pigs, when I was talking to him, he dropped some Emmett Otter knowledge on me that I didn't have. Apparently the full narration is not the original version. Apparently the original version is only the one with the bookends where Kermit's at the beginning and the end. They later on re-edited it to give him the full narration, which I did not know. So apparently the full narration version is not the original version, which is something I learned thanks to Mr. Hennis. I did not know that. Connor says, what are your thoughts on the overall Mandalorian since it's finished? I loved it. I loved it. It was great. It was great. I should do a whole video on season 1 of The Mandalorian. But yeah, no, I liked it. It was a really good show. Scott says, thanks for that info. I love Emmett. You know, I'm a very lucky person because I am friends with some of the most knowledgeable people about the Muppets. Like, people think I'm knowledgeable about the Muppets. No. I may know more than the average guy on the street. But if you look at some of my friends, like Chris Stoltz, who runs Muppet Stuff, the Muppet Stuff blog, and you should all be checking out Muppet Stuff blog, great website. There's a guy who knows about the Muppets. I'm supposed to do a video with him. We haven't gotten around to doing it. Unfortunately, Christmas has gotten in the way. I'm very sorry about that, but I would love to do that video with Chris. So I know Chris. I know Joe Hennis. I know a lot of people who know much more about the Muppets than I do. And I people think I'm a Muppet expert. I am actually not. Someone asked, I'm sorry, the names flashed really quick. Someone asked if I'm going to watch The Witcher. Perhaps. I haven't really decided yet. There's so much I want to watch. I still haven't watched The Boys. I want to watch The Boys, and I haven't watched that yet. And that's like about a year old now. So James says, ever seen Flintstones and the Jetsons? You mean Flintstones Meet the Jetsons, the movie? I have seen that. I actually thought it was a bit, yeah, I don't know. I think sometimes crossovers let you down because you're so excited for them. You're like, oh yeah, these two things are going to cross over. It's going to be great. Aubrey is here. Aubrey says, what do I think of the new Dr. Dolittle? Excuse me. I just saw the trailer tonight, and I think it looks okay. I think it looks pretty good. I don't know. The kids seem interested in it. My kids, at least, seem interested in it. Lisa says, Muppet Stuff's collection is crazy awesome. Would love to see that with my own eyes up close. Where do you live, Lisa? Where do you live? I'm sure it can be arranged. If you don't mind driving down to Pennsylvania, Chris loves to show it off. Now, you gotta be careful here. I can't invite you to Chris's house. Like, I mean, that invitation has to come from Chris. So, but he does love to show it off. So if you come down to Pennsylvania and get in touch with him, I would not be surprised if he was happy to show it to you. Anyone who wants to see Muppet stuff, Chris from Muppet Stuff, you want to see his collection, go back through the archives of my YouTube channel. You will find a video where we visit Chris's house and check out his collection, and it is quite impressive. It is quite impressive. So a couple things we should talk about. It really was a dream of mine, a goal of mine to hit 1,800 subscribers by the end of 2020. Then I said, heck, if we're shooting for 1,800, why not shoot for 2,000? But it's not. It doesn't look like it's going to happen. I'm still very short. We've got days. I'm not going to hit my goal of 1,800, which makes me a little sad. Because Rick set a goal and he hit it. Cinema Sickness set a goal and he hit it. I'm the only guy who can't hit my goals. I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know. How do you get people to subscribe? First of all, I ask you guys, hey, subscribe, but you probably are already subscribed. You're watching. So talking to you guys is like preaching to the choir. You're already here. How do I reach the people who haven't subscribed? How do I make them knowledgeable? I don't know. I use as many relevant hashtags as I can on my Twitter and Instagram posts, trying to kind of like attract people in, but I don't know the secret. Rick and Cinema Sickness seem to have figured it out because they hit their goals. I didn't even come close to my goal, and I'm not going to. It's 2 days. I'm not going to get that influx of subs in 2 days. It's not going to happen. It's not realistic. I guess I could move the goalpost and say, all right, let's shoot for my birthday. My birthday's in March. But I don't know. You can't make people sub, you know? It's like you can say, hey, hit the subscribe button. They're going to do it or they're not, you know? I don't know. I can't seem to get there. James says, hey man, I recently saw The Last Jedi. Why do people hate the film? I hate this film again. Oh, sorry. I gotta be careful. I put my hand right in front of the camera. I thought it was fine and the ideas were executed perfectly, but the structure could have been a little better. See, I think it's a perfect film. I always say, I think there's 3 Star Wars films that I wouldn't touch a frame on. I think they're perfect movies. And that's Empire Strikes Back, A New Hope, and The Last Jedi. Why do people hate it? I don't know. It's baffling to me. It's absolutely baffling to me. I don't get it. I really don't. A lot of the things I hear people complain about it are simply not true. I mean, people say things about the movie that's not true. One thing I always hear is, well, Rian Johnson threw out all the plot threads that JJ introduced in Force Awakens. False. He took all those plot threads and followed them through. Every one of them. Luke threw the lightsaber over his shoulder. Well, duh. Of course Luke threw the lightsaber over his shoulder. I mean, JJ made it pretty clear in The Force Awakens that Luke doesn't want to be a part of all that. He hit himself. He hit himself on an island. He went off into space, hit himself, and didn't. And then he tried to hide the map. Like R2 had half the map, but R2 didn't have the whole map. Like he destroyed the map and kind of split it up. Like he wasn't making it easy to. If he wanted to just come back, he could. Why did he make it so hard to find himself? So that was JJ. JJ made it that it was like Luke went into seclusion and hid the map and didn't want people to find him. So then Rian Johnson takes the next chapter and she's like, I found you. Here's your lightsaber. And he throws it over his shoulder and everyone's like, oh, he threw the lightsaber. Oh my God. Rian Johnson just, crapped on everything JJ set up. It's like, no, JJ set that up. That was JJ. You didn't have a problem with it in the end of Force Awakens. Why do you have a problem with it now? It doesn't make sense. Leia gets blown out into space, uses the Force to save herself, come back to the ship. Everyone's like, that's BS. How could she use the Force? She doesn't have any training. Who said she doesn't have training? This is 30 years after Return of the Jedi. It's 30 years later. We know she's powerful with the Force because Yoda told us. That boy is our last hope. No, there is another. The other was Leia. We know Leia was the other. Then Luke tells her, the Force is strong in my family. My father had it, I had it, and my sister has it. And then we see Leia using the Force in minor capacity in the original trilogy. She knew where Luke was at the end of Empire when he was hanging on the weather vane. She sensed him, and he said, Leia, and then they go back and they get him because she sensed it. And then at the end, when Han says, I'm sure Luke wasn't on that Death Star when it blew up, she's like, I know he wasn't. I felt it. We know she's powerful with the Force. So now it's 30 years later, and she does something, uses the Force. People go, oh, she didn't have any training. Who said? Who said she didn't have any training? That's something you made up. They didn't say that in the movie. 30 years have passed. She could have had a lot of training for all we know. And then, well, I don't want to give spoilers, but I don't know. Every complaint I hear leveled against that movie just doesn't hold water. It doesn't hold water. They're, Yoda called down Force lightning. How could a Force ghost interact with his environment? That's impossible. We saw Ghost Obi-Wan sit on a log in Return of the Jedi. He sat on a log. That's not interacting with his environment? I don't know. People complain about The Force Awakens, or not The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi. People complain. Doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. If the complaint's just like, well, I didn't like the movie, I didn't care for the movie, that's fine. But when people hit with these nitpicks that just don't hold water, that's what gets me. I'm like, why do you have a problem with Leia using the Force? We've known for 30 years she was powerful with the Force. We've known that since Yoda said, there is another. I don't know. Mr. Will says, what's your favorite Starfleet ship? Probably the original Enterprise. I mean, if I had to pick a favorite version of the original Enterprise, it's probably the motion picture, the refit version from motion picture. But yeah, probably the original Enterprise. I also love the Defiant from Deep Space Nine. I really like the Defiant. And the Enterprise E is pretty cool. But yeah, no, the original Enterprise 1701 is my favorite. And of the 1701 versions, the version from the motion picture, Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, Star Trek III, The Search for Spock, that's my favorite version of the original Enterprise. Where are we on power? 3%. We're on 3%. James says, ever seen Arc 2 Filmation live action show from the 70s? I've certainly heard of it, but I have not seen it, to be honest with you. I've never seen the show. Is it good? Is it worth checking out? I do love Filmation. Last year for Christmas, I got a book on the history of Filmation, and I enjoyed reading that. Sav says, Ray is the... Oh, no spoilers, Sav. Let's not do that. Let's not do that. We don't know who in the chat has seen the movie, who hasn't seen the movie. So let's not spoil it for people in case they haven't seen the movie. I almost slipped with a spoiler from Rise of Skywalker. Scott says, thoughts on despecialized Star Wars Blu-rays for sale? Scott, wish I can get my hands on them. I don't know where to get them. I'd love them. Will says, the NX class ship never gets any love. I like the NX. I like the NX-01 a lot. Connor says, do I like the Family Guy parodies of Star Wars? I do. I thought they were pretty good. Monkey Man says, Darth Vader is Luke's father. No! That's not true. That's impossible. Yeah, I enjoy the Family Guy parodies. You know what parody of my Star Wars... Going old school here on you. Going old school. You know what my favorite parody of Star Wars of all time probably is? Hardware Wars. Hardware Wars. Have any of you seen Hardware Wars? Some of you had to have. It's one of the greatest of all time Star Wars parodies. And one of the first. Bohemian says, Bohemian says, no spoilers. I haven't seen any of the Star Wars movies yet. Well, I'm afraid I hit you with some spoilers for The Last Jedi. I do apologize. Sav says, what's my favorite DS9 episode? In the Pale Moonlight. In the Pale Moonlight, not only is it my favorite DS9 episode, it's probably my favorite Star Trek episode of all time. I love In the Pale Moonlight. That's the episode where Sisko makes a decision that he has to bring the Romulans into the war effort against the Dominion. And he goes forth to make sure it happens. That is as good as an episode is ever going to get. Great episode. In the Pale Moonlight, without question. Favorite DS9, favorite Star Trek episode. James says, ever seen Wait Till Your Father Comes Home, the Hanna-Barbera cartoon from the 70s? I have. I remember that. Brandon says, I love The Last Jedi. I never understood the hate. Not Brandon. Boredom Strikes. Excuse me. Am I getting tired? Lisa says, me either. Bohemian True Story. I just can't get into it. The closest thing I can get into is Spaceballs. But yeah, no, Boredom Strikes, I don't get the hate either. It's really weird. But people really hate it. I don't understand it. Brandon says, I just picked up the short-lived Get Smart series from the 90s. I do have that. I still need seasons 3 and 4 of the original series. I have season 1, 2, 5, and then the Fox revival. And should I give a spoiler alert? I got something Get Smart related for Christmas. Monkey Man says, Rosebud is a sled and the girl in the crying game is a dude. I'm done spoiling. Aubrey says, gotta go, Joe. Thanks for the live stream tonight. Have a wonderful new year. How about you too, Aubrey? Have a great new year. James says, ever seen Where's Huddles? I remember the name, but I don't remember the show. Sav says, my favorite episode's Little Green Men. That's a good one too. That was a really good episode. Quark episodes were usually fun. There were some bad ones like Prophet and Lace, the one where Quark had a sex change. That was a terrible episode. But Scott says, Closet Cases of the Nerd Kind. I remember that one. Sam says, hey, I'm here. Welcome, Sam. Welcome to the party. Connor says, am I excited for Bad Boys 3? Not particularly. I'll be honest with you. I never saw Bad Boys 1 and 2. I never did. One of these days I'll have to watch them. But I don't know. I never liked Martin Lawrence. Like, I like Will Smith, but I never cared for Martin Lawrence. I didn't like his sitcom. My ex-wife loved Martin Lawrence. James says, favorite episode of Scooby-Doo. I don't know if I have a favorite Scooby-Doo. Maybe the one with Batman. Mr. Will says, what was that? Mr. Wills says, will you be bringing out the Romulan ale for New Year? I got a bottle of Romulan ale over here somewhere. There's one right on the shelf here, actually. What am I? Sam says, been a while since I've been on the stream. Lisa says, didn't miss much, Joe. Didn't miss much with what? Bad Boys 1 and 2, is that? Monkey Man says, I had a hard time getting through Bad Boys. I'm not a Michael Bay fan either. That's the thing. I'm not a fan of Martin Lawrence, and I'm not a fan of Michael Bay. Scott says, do I have any of the old Kenner Star Wars toys? I do. Around here somewhere, actually. Steven's here. Hi, Joe. Have you seen a film called Cloak and Dagger? I love Cloak and Dagger. I love Cloak and Dagger. Such a great movie. Yes. Yes, I have. Brandon says, because of my thrifting and... Oh, see, let me try to bring the chat up now. I'm at 6% power. Let's see if I can do this without collapsing the iPad again. Because it's really hard reading it on the phone. I apologize. Again, this was a last-minute live stream. I wasn't expecting to go live tonight. So I should have had this set. Is this going to work now? And now I'm sitting through a commercial. Oh, but there's the chat. Brandon says, because of all my thrifting and reselling of late, my mom called me a Ferengi. I'm still not sure if she meant that as an insult or as a compliment. You know, my old boss, who I'm sad to say, was one of my closest friends. We're not friends anymore. Not because of anything I did. I mean, like, he just decided to cut ties. I don't know why. But he used to tell me I had the confidence of a serial killer. And I always took it as a compliment. He used to say, you have the confidence of a serial killer. I always thought it was a compliment. Then I went to my new job, and I said, you know, I've been told I have the confidence of a serial killer. And they said, I don't think that's a compliment. And I said, well, I've always taken it as such. Boredom Strike says, what's your thoughts on the movie Bob and Star Go to Vista Mar? I've never heard of it. This is that you mentioning it is the first I've ever heard of it, so I'll have to look it up. I'm not at all familiar with that movie. Connor says Bad Boys 2 is my favorite action film of all time. Or maybe I'll have to check out the Bad Boys movies. Evan Brewer says, how was your Christmas? My Christmas was great, Evan. How was yours? I hope it was good. Stephen Bull says, yeah, it's a favorite of mine. I like The Wizard as well, starring Fred Savage. You know what's funny, Stephen? I went searching for a DVD of Cloak and Dagger, and when I got it, it was on a double feature disc with The Wizard. So I actually have Cloak and Dagger and The Wizard on the same disc. But yeah, I remember seeing The Wizard in the movies. I love Cloak and Dagger, though, man. What an underappreciated movie. Such a great movie. Adam the Woo did the filming locations for Cloak and Dagger. A little jealous I wasn't there for that. I would have loved to have done that video with him, because one of these days I'll get there. I'll get out there. Movie Hunter says, I got a 4-pack of Vulcan Ale for Christmas. I don't drink beer, so it will sit on my shelf forever. Fair enough. Fair enough. Sav says it's 4 a.m. in the UK. I'm happy you're doing a live stream. I'm happy to be doing it, Sav. You know, Wednesday's New Year's Day. I don't know if I'll get to do one Wednesday. I certainly didn't do one last week, so I'm trying to make up for time. And by the way, we've already heard from him once today, but Super Chat Hippo is here. If anyone wants to hear from Super Chat Hippo again, you can do so. Let me go through. For those of you just joining us, because I know people come in, people go. Sorry to repeat myself for those who've been here, but I do want to make sure the word gets out. Instagram, at Megapodtastic on Instagram. Please follow at Megapodtastic on Instagram. Some of you may have already been following me at Krazy Joe, and you may have found that you're not currently following me anymore. I apologize. It's not personal. But due to a personality we were dealing with, a viewer of this channel who shall remain nameless, who was crossing some lines, let's just say, it's the nice way of putting it, I guess. But anyway, someone was crossing some lines, and it forced the issue of having to draw a line in the sand and make sure private and public were very separate. So at Krazy Joe is now a private family and friends only account, and at Megapodtastic is open to the public. Anyone can follow at Megapodtastic. So if you are a fan of the channel or the podcast or anything, at Megapodtastic on Instagram. And again, if you were removed from the other channel, I am very sorry. It was not personal. It's just anyone who, if I didn't know you well, if I don't know you personally, I just, to protect the family, I had to do it. So I'm sorry about that, but it is what it is. Sam says, I'm behind on my Letterboxd reviews. Yes, I'm very behind. I apologize. I got to get a jump on that. James says there's even a Scooby-Doo comic where they meet Batman, but also Superman and the Justice League. Lisa says, people say, I'm going to kill you. People say I have the I'm going to kill you stare until I smile. I had a friend who had a very creepy look he used to give people. He called it the tarantula vibe. It was always like, I give people the tarantula vibe. Connor says, did I ever watch Batman versus the Ninja Turtles? I haven't yet. I own it, though. And Scott sends a super chat for 99 cents. Thank you, Scott. That is too kind. And Super Chat Hippo thanks you. Isn't that dumb? But thank you, Scott. I appreciate it. I do appreciate it. Sav says, what am I going to do for New Year's? I'm just going to be here with the wife and kids. Movie Hunter says, uh-oh, Krazy Joe got a stalker following him. Yeah, there was an incident, but that's all right. Let's not dwell on the past. Let's move forward. The guy was, he was banned. He's not here on the channel anymore, but he was creepy. So well, I don't know. It's a shame it has to come to that, but it is what it is. Stephen Mules, excuse me, I can't speak tonight. Says another film I like is Project X starring Matthew Broderick. That is another good movie. James says Mario, Sonic, or Pac-Man. I'm going Pac-Man, without question, Pac-Man. Though if you put Donkey Kong or Frogger in the list, I'd have a harder time choosing. But yeah, I go Pac-Man. Scott says, forgot my message. Happy New Year to all of you. Happy New Year to you, Scott, and we do appreciate it. Anthony's in the room. Anthony says, just saw you were live. Today's my 43rd birthday, so I'm as old as you now. Happy birthday, Anthony. We could be the same age for just a couple months because in March I will be trading in my number. Jim Duggan says, I know what you're thinking. It wasn't me. It was not you, Jim. It was not you, I promise. Monkey Man says, hippos are one of the most vicious and dangerous animals on earth, but somehow they quack and it makes them cute. I actually saw 2 live hippos today. I was at the aquarium today, so I did see 2 real hippos today, and one of them made a hippo noise. And I know the noise hippos make. I'm familiar with the sound hippos make, but I don't know that I'd ever heard one make one while I was in the room, and I was a little taken aback by just how loud it was. Connor says, am I excited for the Mario Kart ride coming to Universal? Not really. Not particularly. I do love Universal Studios Florida. Universal Islands of Adventure is my favorite theme park on earth. I love Islands of Adventure. Love it super much. I'm excited for Epic Universe, but that particular ride doesn't do anything for me. I mean, I'll get on it. Maybe it'll be great, but just hearing Mario Kart ride doesn't excite me. Like if you said Star Trek ride, I'd be like, oh yeah. But the words Mario Kart ride don't excite me. Doesn't mean I won't like the ride when it's there. Like when I get on the ride, I might be like, that was great. I'm knocking stuff over. Excuse me. Sav says, do I remember the Mutant X TV show? I do. It starred the guy who played Lex Luthor on Lois and Clark. I never watched it, though, to be honest with you. Backquid Forever says, hey, Joe, how's it hanging tonight? Just got Disney Plus this week, and boy, am I in love with it. It's the gift that keeps on giving. Yeah, Disney Plus is great. I wish we could watch it more. I really do. But unfortunately, my daughter just won't watch it. Just won't watch it. My 4-year-old, she only wants to watch like the same 4 shows, like Curious George, and I don't know. She's got like, I tried putting on some of the old classic shows on Disney Plus, like Gummy Bears. But Gummy Bears on for everything. I know it's too scary. It's too scary. What's scary about the Gummy Bears? But that's what she says. Monkey Man says, even Steve Irwin was afraid of hippos, and well, he should be. You have to fear the hippo. Lisa says, does Sesame Place close for the winter? Well, I was just there. I was just there yesterday. So they're open for Christmas. They're having a New Year's Eve party. It's my understanding that New Year's Day will probably, I think, be the last day. And then they will close for a couple months, reopen in the spring. So, yeah, they're going to close for the months of January and February. And I don't know, I think they open in April. So they'll be closed for a few months. But no, they've been open now. They've been doing, they got Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeers there now. Like the Rankin and Bass Rudolph characters are there doing meet and greets right now. So you could go right up to New Year's Day and meet Rudolph and the Bumble and Sam the Snowman and Clarice. So they are still open. Connor says, am I excited for Picard in 3 weeks? You bet I am. I'm very excited for Picard. I can't wait for Picard. And my God, the short treks. If anyone's watching short treks on CBS All Access, the little short things they do to keep you interested until the new season, the short treks have been amazing this year. We got a couple animated ones that were great. We got one that was a Trouble with Tribbles prequel that was hilarious. The short treks have been awesome. So Star Trek is on fire right now. I can't wait for the premiere of Picard. Boredom says, with the live-action remakes of Disney classic films being all the rage these days, what one would you be most interested in seeing? Oh, that's a good question. We brought it up recently. There was one that I think we all agreed. Cinema Sickness and Rick and I were like, hey, that would be a good one. but I don't remember what it was now. I don't remember what it was. Oh man, now I got to brainstorm. Yeah, there was one that we were like all like, "Oh, hey, that's a good idea. That's a good one." But now, right out of my head. Jeez. Let me think about that one. Let me think about that because there is an answer. We discussed the answer, but I don't know now. Backwid says, me and my friend Clay both think the child, aka Baby Yoda, is so precious. Everybody loves Baby Yoda. If you don't like Baby Yoda, man, I don't know. You gotta love Baby Yoda. Bohemian says, does your daughter like Sheriff Callie? Because it came on there a few weeks ago. Oh my God, Bohemian, my daughter is obsessed with Sheriff Callie. She loves Sheriff Callie. It's the one show on Disney Plus she will watch. But she watched it before it was on Disney Plus. She likes it on. She watched it on Hulu. So yeah, she does like that. Joey Baseball is here. Says I had no idea we were going live. Well, Joey, the easy answer is I didn't know it was going live either. This was a spur of the moment decision. Conor McGregor says the Black Cauldron. That would be a good choice. I could see that translating well to live action. That would be an interesting one. Oh man, there was one though where I think we all sat around and were like, "Oh yeah, that's the one. That's the one. Do that in live action." What was it though? I am totally blank on it now. Brandon says Sword in the Stone would work well. Yeah, that one would work. That definitely would. Joey says you need to use the community tab to tell us you're going to do an impromptu Crazy After Dark. I'm sorry. Yeah, I probably should have. I probably should have done that. And I'm going to be wrapping it up soon, guys, because I have been on almost an hour and I am getting tired. And I do have work in the morning. Lilo and Stitch. That was it, Bohemian. Lilo and Stitch. Yes. CS and I had talked about it. We both agreed like Lilo and Stitch would translate really well to live action. That would be one that would really kind of fit that. All these live action remakes they're doing, most of them it's very hard to get excited about, but Lilo and Stitch would be one we would both get excited about, CS and I. Steven says, hey Joe, did you know there's going to be 2 new Star Trek movies coming out, one directed by Quentin Tarantino? Well, Steven, that's actually not official yet. Tarantino won't commit. He won't commit. He wrote one. He wrote a story for one. And I guess he may produce it, but he has not committed to directing it yet. I really hope he does. Connor says, what are my review of the first 3 episodes of Crisis? I liked them. It's hard to really say until we see where it's going, but I liked it so far. James says, ever see the Batman TV show? Batwoman TV show trailer. I saw more than the trailer. I've seen the show. Not a fan. I thought the episodes I saw were pretty cheesy, actually. Joey says, no, if they did Lilo and Stitch, they will make Stitch look really creepy. I don't think they would. I think actually Stitch would translate well to live action. So I don't know. That would be fun to see, I think. Lucky Man says a Bambi live action remake would be the most depressing film ever made. Well, I know Marie would be all about that. Marie would be very excited to see a live action Bambi. Boredom Strike says Tarantino drives me nuts. He did this several years ago with Friday the 13th. He gets everyone talking and then pulls out. I think he's doing the same with Star Trek. I'll tell you, I'll be very disappointed if he doesn't direct his Star Trek movie. I don't think he's going to, but I'll be very disappointed because here's the thing. We'll talk about it forever. It'll be like the Nicolas Cage Superman movie. This mythical thing we never got to see that a lot of people were like, oh, that's a terrible idea. But we'll never really know. It'll just be kind of this thing like talked about in whispers, like, Tarantino almost directed a Star Trek movie once. And we'll never know what that would have been, what that would have looked like. And it could come out and be terrible. But coming out and being terrible is fine. We've had bad Star Trek movies before. There have been bad Star Trek movies before. Star Trek always bounces back. But to just never know what it would have been, I think that'll be a shame. We'd spend the rest of our lives going, what would Tarantino's Star Trek have been? I'd rather see it and hate it than never see it and spend the rest of my life wondering what it would have been. Because the way I see it, it's like, even if I hated it, who cares? Who cares? I've hated Star Trek movies before. I hate Star Trek Nemesis. Hating a movie doesn't kill my love of the franchise, which is why I will never, ever, ever, ever understand the people who turned against the Star Wars franchise because they didn't like The Last Jedi. Like, that I don't get. That I don't get it. Like when people said, I hated The Last Jedi, so I don't want to see The Rise of Skywalker. Like, why do you not want to see The Rise of Skywalker? Because you hated The Last Jedi. I don't get it. What does one have to do with the other? This isn't The Last Jedi. This is The Rise of Skywalker. This is a completely different movie by different writers and a different director. So you hated the last one. So effing what? This isn't the last one. This is a new one. When I see a movie for something I love, a franchise I love, and I don't like it, like Star Trek Nemesis. I hated Star Trek Nemesis. Hated Star Trek Nemesis. Hated Into Darkness. But when I see a Star Trek movie that I hate, my reaction isn't burn Star Trek to the ground. Star Trek is dead. My reaction is, I hated that. Hope they get it right next time. Hope they get it right next time. I hope the next one's better. That's my attitude. I hope the next one's better. Didn't like that. Didn't like what you gave me. Hope it gets better. Because as a fan, I always want it to be good. I want it to be good. And if I see it and it's not good, it doesn't mean I hate the whole thing. It means I hate that. Like, you watch the TV show. You watch a Star Trek TV show. Every now and then there's a bad episode. Like the one I mentioned where Quark gets a sex change. Terrible episode. Profit and Lace. Terrible episode. I didn't abandon Deep Space Nine. I just said, wow, that was a shit episode. I waited for the next week. Next week was better. And then, it was a mix. You get good episodes, you get bad episodes, you get good movies, you get bad movies. So when someone sees one movie and it's like, that's it. Franchise is dead to me now. There was a bad movie. I don't get that. Like, I don't get that at all. I don't understand how those people can call themselves fans. It's like, if you're a fan, don't you want it to be good? Like, because that's me. Like, as a fan, I'm like, well, I want it to be good. So if I see one I don't like, I'm like, I hope the next one's better. I hope they fix it. I hope they right the ship. I don't like root against the next one then. I don't know. Anyway, how do we get on this topic? Joey says, one thing we know about a Tarantino Star Trek, there will be a lot of feet shots. Probably. David Rembert says, did you get Discovery Season 2 for Christmas? I did not. But I did pick up Season 2. I do have it. Boredom Strike says, there's some people that claim to be Star Wars fans, but they often don't like anything after Empire. I don't want to gatekeep what makes a fan. It's like, I don't like gatekeepers. Like, I hate the people who are like, you're not a real fan if you like this, or you're not a real fan if you don't like this. It drives me crazy. No one can define your fandom but you. You're the only one that can define your fandom. If you like Star Wars, you're a Star Wars fan. If you like Star Trek, you're a Star Trek fan. It's okay if you don't like every series. It's okay if you don't like every movie. But if you like something about Star Wars, you're a Star Wars fan. If you like something about Star Trek, you're a Star Trek. You can be a Star Trek fan and only like the original series. You can be a Star Trek fan and only like the Next Generation. And people can't tell you you're not a real fan because you don't like the other shows. That's gatekeeping, and I don't like it. And I realize I'm kind of contradicting myself a little here because I say I don't like gatekeeping. I have trouble accepting that someone is a fan when they root against the franchise that they claim to love. If you call yourself a Star Trek fan and sit there saying, I hope Picard fails, I hope CBS All Access fails, I hope Discovery fails, I want these shows canceled, I want them done, I want them... If you're rooting against the franchise that you supposedly love, I have trouble saying you're a fan because you're actually wishing it ill will. You're wishing it ill will. How are you a fan? Like, let's say you legit hate Discovery. You just hate it. In my mind, I think a real fan would say, well, I don't care for Discovery. I hope Picard's better. That's fair. I didn't care for Voyager. But that didn't mean I didn't watch Enterprise. Enterprise came on. I said, well, I didn't care for Voyager. I hope Enterprise is better. And I liked it a lot better. So Voyager was the one series in all of Star Trek that I wasn't crazy about, and I've actually learned to appreciate it as years went on. But I didn't say that's it. I hate Voyager. Burn it to the ground. It's over. I went into the next series saying, hope I like this better. So it's fine if someone doesn't like Discovery. That's fine. That's fine. It's okay not to like one. But when they're like, Star Trek is dead to me now. Star Trek is dead. I mean, is that really a fan? You're like, burn it to the ground because I didn't like the last one. No. Don't you just hope the next one's better and say, well, I didn't like Discovery, but I'm going to watch Picard, and I hope I like Picard better. I don't know. I've been on this rant too long. Backquid says, we're going to see Rise of Skywalker tomorrow, and I don't have any expectations for it, but as long as it's entertaining, that's all that matters. I was entertained. I liked Rise of Skywalker. It's my least favorite of the new trilogy, but I liked it. Steven asked if I've seen the Wonder Woman TV film starring Kathleen Lee Crosby. I have. I own it, in fact. Joey says, would you want to see The Rise of Skywalker if there isn't any Skywalkers anymore? I'm not sure how to answer that question, but I've seen Rise of Skywalker twice, and I really like it. Sav says, did you drop the S word? Yeah, this is a PG channel. This is a PG channel. You can drop the S word every now and then. You'll never hear the F word because it's not an R-rated channel. But, you know, this is a PG channel. This is not a channel for children. Let's make that clear. This is YouTube. This is not a children's channel. Anyway. Joey says, are we getting a New Year's Crazy After Dark? Maybe New Year's Day. Not New Year's Eve, but you might get one New Year's Day. Monkey Man says, I've never watched Star Trek, but I hear a lot about the episode with the hippies. Was that considered good or bad? It depends who you ask. I think most people consider it incredibly cheesy. If you like cheesy, it's a great episode. If you don't like cheesy, it's a bad episode. It's a pretty stupid episode, but it's one that I enjoy quite a bit for all the wrong reasons. Crack my knuckles and jump for joy. I got a clean bill of health from Dr. McCoy. Backquid says, even though I'm more of a Star Wars fan since I grew up with it as a child, I do like Star Trek The Next Generation and the original series. Joey says, have we had a Crazy After Dark in December? This might be the first. There was that Crazy During the Day. There was that Crazy During the Day lunch hour, which was, by the way, the one where we won't discuss it. We won't discuss it. Cotter says, do I think that Pennywise will be this generation's Freddy Krueger? I doubt it. I don't know. Freddy Krueger should be this generation's Freddy Krueger. Bring Freddy back. Poor Jackie Earle Haley. He did such a good job as Freddy in the 2010 movie. Terrible movie. Terrible movie. But it wasn't Jackie Earle Haley's fault. He was a good Freddy. I'd love to see him get another chance as Freddy in a better movie. Joey says, if they kill off your favorite character and childhood hero, how could you have the attitude of, I hope the next one is better? How could you not? I mean, how could you not? Right? I mean, like, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you have that attitude? Especially in Star Wars. Especially in Star Wars. Because they killed off Luke. They killed off Luke in The Last Jedi. But Luke's a Jedi. We all know he's not really dead. We all know he's going to come back. Obi-Wan died and came back. Yoda died and came back. So it's like, people were like, they killed Luke. I'm like, so what? You still know he's going to be in the next one? You know he's going to be in the next one. It makes no difference. Sav says, I like the Star Trek series, but I'm not a big fan of Discovery, but I don't hate it. I just think it's okay. You see, that's fair. That's fair, but there's people out there who hate Discovery, and then they're like, well, and I want Picard to fail, too. Like that a-hole on YouTube who wears a mask. I'm not naming his name, but if you ever seen the guy who wears a mask, he's a piece of garbage. So, yeah, but anyway. Lisa says, any Muppet Christmas presents It seemed to be a Muppet year for me, not complaining. I don't think I got any Muppet Christmas presents, but I got something that I would consider to be Muppet adjacent. I don't know if I should elaborate. Let's just say as a child, I grew up watching Sesame Street. And then following Sesame Street, another children's show came on that had puppets. And I got some gifts related to that show. And Big Bird has guest starred on that show. So I would call it Muppets adjacent. Do you know what I'm talking about? You probably do. You probably do. Anyway, I'll do a video on what I got for Christmas. I will do a video for what I got for Christmas. On the topic of Tarantino, Backward says, which Tarantino film do you consider to be the best, and which one do you consider to be the worst? Pulp Fiction is probably the best. I love Pulp Fiction. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood's really good too, though. But I do love Pulp Fiction. I also love Grindhouse, but it's got to be the full double feature with Robert Rodriguez's film and Tarantino's film. I don't like pulling them apart. Worst, and I still like it though. I'm not trashing the movie. I still like it, but for worst, I'm going Jackie Brown. It's not bad. It's not my favorite. For one, and another thing is, can Jackie Brown really be considered a Tarantino film? Because it's an Elmore Leonard novel. Tarantino it's an adaptation. For a Tarantino movie, I think we got to consider the stuff that Tarantino both wrote and directed. The stuff that came from Tarantino's imagination completely. So I don't even know if Jackie Brown counts, because that's someone else's work that Tarantino did an adaptation of. But yeah, I'm going to go Pulp Fiction. Stephen Buell says, I recently bought season 2 of The Orville. I love that series. I wish I loved that series. I would like to love The Orville. I watch it. I've seen every episode of The Orville, but I have a lot of trouble with The Orville because it recycles so many stories that Star Trek already did. Like, every episode of The Orville I could point to and say, oh, this is the episode where they're doing their version of this from Star Trek. And it's I just wish The Orville would get a little more original and not kind of rehash stuff that Star Trek's already done so much. So I want to love The Orville. I have a hard time. Joey says Big Bird was on an episode of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Indeed he was. Indeed he was. And Joey says, and Mr. Rogers was on an episode of Sesame Street. Yes. Connor says, did you get Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? I did. It's a great movie. It's a great movie. Sam says, Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood. Did you see that from SNL? I did. It was good seeing Eddie Murphy back on SNL. It was good seeing some of those characters like Buckwheat again. Velvet Jones, Mr. Robinson. That was fun. I think they could have done Mr. Robinson better, though. The Mr. Rogers documentary was out last year, and the Tom Hanks movie was out this year. So I think they could have done something funny if they did a riff on the documentary about Mr. Rogers, did a documentary on Mr. Robinson. That would have been funny. But I still enjoyed it. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. I do have work in the morning. Thanks for joining me on this impromptu live stream. Last chance to hear from Super Chat Hippo as we're closing up here. Last chance to hear from Super Chat Hippo. Also, if you like what we do here, please like and share our videos. Tell a friend. Let some others know. It was my goal to hit 1,800 by New Year's Eve or New Year's Day. It's not going to happen. I'm not unrealistic. We got hundreds to go in only 2 days. It's not going to happen. I'm a little heartbroken. I wanted to get there. It makes me very sad we're not going to get there, but we're not going to get there. I can't be unrealistic about it. It's just not going to happen. But if you like and share the video, you tell a friend who maybe doesn't watch this channel, maybe we can make it by March. Maybe by my birthday we can hit 2,000. That's the new goal. Hit 2,000 by my birthday. And that's 700 people we have to gain. 700, but we got 3 months to do it. Can we do it? I'd like to believe we can. I'd like to believe. I want to believe, like Fox Mulder on the X-Files. I want to believe, but we'll see. So, but you can help. You can help. Tell a friend, like and share. And once again, final time I will say it on this live stream because I know I've beat a dead horse. Instagram at Megapodtastic on Instagram. At Megapodtastic on Instagram. In fact, you know what? Do you know what? Let's have a little bit of fun. Let's have a little bit of fun. I'm going to end this stream. We're not going to go long. We are not going to go long. Okay? We're not going to go long. But I am going to go to Instagram right now, and we will go live on Instagram for a little bit. And I'm gonna blatantly steal from another channel. Okay? I am blatantly stealing this, and I'm going to give full credit. There is an Instagram page called 80s Then, 80s Now. Aubrey, I think Aubrey already left the room. Aubrey left, right? Aubrey is also familiar with 80s Then, 80s Now. But the guy on 80s Then, 80s Now, his name is JP, and he does live trivia on Instagram sometimes. And I'm going to steal from him right now. Come on over to Instagram. Let's break out the new Instagram channel. We'll do no more than 20 minutes. No more than 20 minutes because I do have to get to bed, okay? So I'm going to go live on Instagram right now, and we'll do trivia. Here's how it works. If any of you are familiar with Instagram, you can join me on Instagram, like live. So it'll be a video back and forth. I'll ask you some questions. Maybe you'll win. I don't know. Let's do this. Let's do this. This could be a fun way to wrap up the night, right? I told you at the beginning I was feeling a little down. This might cheer me up. This might be a fun thing. Again, I'm stealing this from 80s Then, 80s Now. So do me a favor. Go over to 80s Then, 80s Now. Give him a follow on Instagram because I'm stealing his material. Least I could do is throw some people his way. So go over to 80s Then, 80s Now and give him a sub. So I will go, give me like 5 minutes. I'll try to find some trivia questions. We'll play some trivia on Instagram. Is anyone into this? Does anyone want to do this? Let me see. Is anybody? Nobody's saying. Okay, maybe this will bomb completely. I don't know. Maybe this will be a complete and total failure if nobody's interested, but we're going to give it a try. All right. In the meantime, keep wearing those pajamas like 5 minutes from now on Instagram. Let's check it out. Keep wearing those pajamas.